I really don't get the states, like, at all. Because they think that raising the minimum wage is going to ruin the economy, but they don't care the fact that the companies, because they think, oh, if minimum wage is higher, then they're going to have to increase prices to afford that minimum wage. Meanwhile, they can afford to pay their top earners millions of dollars a year and give them random bonuses that are more than their bottom earners make in 2 years. Like, if they can just be throwing money away like that, you would think that they could afford to pay their bottom earners enough so that they can afford basic things like food, water, and shelter, which every single living being needs to survive. And the whole thing that they're against, like, all these people are against free healthcare, which I know it's not free, it's through the tax dollars things. Even saying, like, shitty systems like in Canada and Sweden. I saw this one post that just inciting this fucking rage. I live in Canada. I've lived in Canada my entire life, and the only complaint I have ever heard about the way that the Canadian healthcare system works is sometimes the waiting room times are kind of long. Which, I mean, is a problem in the States too, so, I mean, overall we're better. Because here's the deal. If you have people who think, I can't afford to go to the doctor, and I can get by, I'm not to the point where this problem is causing me to stop being able to do anything, I'm not going to go to the doctor and get this thing checked out. And then it just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse until they have to be hospitalized, and that costs way more. And if they couldn't afford a simple visit to their family doctor for the smallest of checkups or whatever, just say, hey, I have this fucking weird thing on my leg, could you check it out? And then they can't afford to do that, and it gets infected, it gets worse and worse and worse, and then they end up having to get their leg amputated. Or something, or even worse, like they could end up with, oh, I have this weird mole that's growing, I can't afford to go to the family doctor, it's just a mole. Oh, they have skin cancer! Like, the smallest of things can be prevented, and it costs peanuts compared to how much it costs to get the serious thing that it can turn into treated. And the thing is, if they couldn't afford a simple family doctor visit, like just to have a quick little, what is this thing that lasts like 10 minutes, then what do you really think that they can afford to go to the doctor to do that? To get their leg amputated or to get cancer treatments? No, they can't, alright? Which means that the hospital bills aren't getting paid, so this person has gone from being in a place where they couldn't afford to pay a family doctor to the point where they can't afford anything anymore because they're getting fined out the ass, and they're gonna have to declare bankruptcy, which means their entire future is fucking screwed, and they can't get a house or anything like that. And so the hospital bill isn't paid, and then you have a person who is starting to look at jail as a favorable place to be. Because the amount of times that it's happened that someone does something so that they purposefully get arrested, so that they have basic amenities, including healthcare, food, water, and shelter, when the thing that is supposed to be a punishment, a deterrent from certain behaviors, is seen as something preferable to being a free American citizen, you know your system is fucking broken. Okay? Like, and if, oh yeah, that's right, these people who are, like, they're so poor, they can't afford anything, so they will steal something from the grocery store, just so that they're not starving. They will steal something, they get caught, they go to jail. Their entire life is fucking screwed after that. They can't get a job, they can't get a house, they can't get anything, so they're fucking screwed. So then after a while, they're like, you know what, it was nicer in jail, I'm gonna go back. So then they commit another crime. So because the thing is, if you have that basic welfare, and if you have that basic health care, that people are like, oh, it costs the government so much, it's awful. If you have those things, you don't have people in desperate situations where they need to steal. You don't have people who are going to jail purposefully so that they survive. And I will tell you this, jail costs way more than welfare or healthcare ever could. So, and that's something that everyone ignores, is that, oh, I don't want to have to pay this person to be lazy on their ass, but, oh yeah, here's another thing. 60% of homeless people in the States are working their asses off. When you can't afford to have a home, when you are on the streets but working, because of how low minimum wage is and how expensive everything is? Like, what the fuck? You're saying that you don't want to raise minimum wage because then the CEOs won't be able to buy their second yacht, while there are people who can't afford to pay for food or housing, like, while working their asses off, and these fucking assholes, you have people who are working for the government who barely do a goddamn thing. They will have all this time off, and at work they can half-ass everything and barely fuck up all the fucking time, and that's not just a problem in the States. I know it's a problem in Canada too, but you need to get Harper out of the fucking government because he's just as bad as all those fucking Republicans in the States. But luckily there's an election this fall, so hopefully he'll get his ass out of the fucking government because he's turning Canada into the States. Oh my god. Anyways, but yeah, so if you have... The thing is that, and then someone was like, they're already taxed more than their fair share for the rich. I'm sorry. Oh, because of high taxes. The poor rich people can't afford their second summer house. How tragic. Meanwhile, but in reality, they're getting tax breaks all over the fucking place because they're rich. They don't have to pay off their debts or fines, really, because they got all these excuses and everything else. Meanwhile, someone could have a $31 fine for the smallest fucking thing, and then 2 years later, they've already paid $300, and they still haven't paid off that fine because of all these additional fines for not paying it off immediately. So, these people the rich people get away with not paying their debts of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, poor people will pay hundreds of dollars for something small that was cost originally under $50. And there have been people who have had to declare bankruptcy because of the smallest fucking fine that got extremely exploded in cost. And the whole thing of Detroit with the water shut-offs, you have people who are owing only like $100 or less even, and they're getting their water shut off. Meanwhile, these corporations haven't paid their water bills, and their water bills are a hell of a lot higher. They haven't paid that shit in years. They owe millions of dollars to the water company, and they're allowed to keep their water. So, I'm sorry, but everything that Bernie Sanders has proposed sounds like a way to fix the broken country, because obviously the way that all these conservative people are saying we're going to ruin the country that Bernie Sanders is going to propose. I'm sorry, but the country is already ruined. You're already in a shithole. I know you can't tell that from your nice, 25th story penthouse, but if you get down onto the ground level, you will see your country is already in a shithole. It's already fucking screwed over halfway to hell. So, how the hell is proposing these things that successful countries have done gonna ruin it? Because that's another thing too, is that all these things I'm talking about, and more extreme case than Bernie Sanders is giving, so things like Mincome, where every single citizen gets a minimum amount to survive, and then on top of that, if they want to work, they can. They have more workers because they think that, if we increase welfare and stuff like that, you're going to have people not working and being lazy. As someone who worked in retail with a bunch of fucking old people, I was begging for hours because I couldn't afford my basic amenities. They were begging for hours because they were bored. They hated not having anything to do during the day. So they were taking jobs away from people who need them, like really fucking need them, because they're bored. So I'm telling you as a fact, people will work even if they don't have to, because they get fucking bored. But here's the thing, you get people who are getting themselves out of poverty because they can afford education all of a sudden. They can afford to take an apprenticeship. They can do all these things that they couldn't afford to do before. So you have less people who are working sick too, so they're spreading disease around. You have less people burning out from working freaking 60 or more hours a week, and you have, just to survive, by the way, and you have better education, so you have, the more educated your country is, the fucking better off it is. Like, US is worse than some third world countries in a lot of areas. What the fuck? Did you know? Oh yeah, there's just an example. There are only 2 countries in the entire world that don't have parental leave. 2 fucking countries. And the other one, other than the States, is Papua New Guinea. It's like a tiny speck of a country. It's not even one of the third world countries. When a third world country has more social benefits than yours, then you know something's fucked up. When fucking dictatorships treat their people better than your fucking democracy, you know you have some fucked up shit going on in your country. Thanks for fucking listening. Lots of yelling in this episode. Video. I'm sorry, but I just fucking conservative Americans. I can't wrap my head around their idiocracy.